I make kids.
You can keep reading that part.
Make them right. I make them read. This repetition is used out through the poem to remind readers why Molly wrote this poem in the first place.
You can pause right there. We actually have a couple things that happen in those sentences. I think we might have skipped a sentence.
Why are you staring at me?
Oh, some of us have lost focus. I know right now we really have to stay focused on this, and that might feel like a long time. Stay with us. We're going to get through it. I'm going to reread really quick what Darius had said. A clear example of repetition is how Molly repeats the phrase, I make, throughout the poem, particularly in this line. That is, yes, John.
Isn't it R because it's restatement? Because they already talked it. It's restatement or topic syntax. Because the topic syntax it talks about like how like his work is like the most challenging, and how
restating how his work is the most challenging and life changing.
And like how
I love that you brought that up.
How you use repetition, and that was just repetition.
I love that you brought that up because if we're looking at T-Bear, naturally we're going to think R comes after A. But let's pause and look at this. It says a clear example of repetition is how Molly repeats the phrase I make throughout the poem. But he hasn't talked about repetition yet, right? That's brand new information. The last thing he talked about was a simile, right? So if he hasn't talked about repetition yet, he's introducing something new. So we're not moving straight down to R, we're actually moving back up in T-Bear. So he's introducing a new piece of evidence that he's about to show us with a quote. So what does that mean? He's about to introduce some new evidence. What comes before evidence in T-Bear? Background. Manny got it. Thank you. Your background comes right before, right? He's explaining the example he's about to show. So there's two B's, right? You are going to be expected to do the same thing with your paragraphs. I really want you to hear and understand that. It is not as clear cut as it might seem. We have another piece of background where he's introducing a quote. So that kind of tells us, right? I kind of gave it away. Our next quotation that he gives us is another piece of evidence. So we've got T-B-E-A-B-E. Kind of confusing. Look at what I've written down.
That's not T-Bear.
It's not exactly T-Bear, right? It's a little bit more complicated than that. All right, our next sentence. This repetition is used throughout the poem. I'm going to read this because Darius already read it. I'm going to reread it with us. This repetition is used throughout the poem to remind readers of why Molly wrote this poem in the first place. Because a man at a dinner party asked him, "You're a teacher, Taylor. Be honest. What do you make?" What is the writer doing here in this sentence? Johnny, hold on one second. I do want to give somebody else a chance. I love that you're really eager to break this down with me though. What is the author doing in this sentence? I'm going to highlight it just in case you lost where we are. They're saying what the author is using the repetition for. So what is that an example of? They're telling you why the author used repetition. Johnny said it. Who else has it?
It's A. Because
Go ahead, Johnny.
It's A because they were talking about like why did he write the story, and they explained why he wrote the story because a dude at a dinner party asked him, be honest what you make, and what he meant by what you make was like how much money do you make as a teacher.
Thank you.
And then
Absolutely.
Molly just told him like he makes like kids like stuff.
Yep. So the author is explaining something. I'm going to put A there for analysis. The author is explaining, right? All you have to do is read the sentence and question, like, which part of this is happening, right? Which part of T-Bear is actually happening in that sentence? Okay. The dinner guest meant to ask, right here. I'm going to have somebody read all the way down to where it says Molly's use of word choice. Can I have somebody read this section here? Can we get one new voice in the room? Someone jump on in. The dinner guest meant to ask how much money. Vicente, you want to do it?
How much? repetition of the phrase I make throughout the poem to remind the readers that as teacher, he makes things that are so much more meaningful than money in his classroom. Molly's use of word choice and structure makes the message clear. Becoming a teacher is challenging and life-changing, regardless of how much money you make.
Thank you. And we finally got to the bottom of T-Bear. So what does that mean this last part is? R. We're restating. This very last sentence is restating the topic. So in our first sentence, the writer says that Molly's message is that a teacher's work is some of the most challenging and life-changing work a person can do. In that last sentence, the writer says, gentlemen. In that last sentence, the writer says that becoming a teacher is challenging and life-changing. They are restating the topic and the message of the poem. All right, folks, that was our chance to look at a high-quality example before we go and start working on creating our own high-quality analysis paragraph. Here's what we are going to do.